So what we're gonna be making on this video is creating an AI car controller that's gonna be able to drive the car we have made on the previous videos, and the player is going to be able to race against it, as you can see here. It's gonna be following the blue waypoints, and it's gonna be braking on the red big zones. So as you can see here, it's gonna brake and turn right, as a normal player will do as well. So yeah, that's how to do this, and I hope you like the video. Okay, so before we get started, we want to know how exactly our AI should work. So let's actually research a bit on how a racing line works. So if we go on Google and search racing line, we can see this thing here. So what does this mean? This means that we have this here, this is our car. So this here is our car. And what the drawing is showing is that we want our car to go something like this, where here we are braking, here on this point here we're letting off the gas, and here, let me put this on blue, and here we're accelerating. So let's recap this a bit. We have our racing line, which goes straight, then we have a quick turn, and we turn something like this. So we need some way for our AI to know that here we are braking, here we need to let off the gas, and here we need to actually accelerate. So how are we gonna do this? The way we're gonna do this is by having a braking zone here that tells the car that if you're here and you have enough speed, you need to decelerate. And for the turning, what we're gonna be doing is when the car is turning, so for example, if the car is here and the wheels are like this, that means that we should not allow the gas to be pressed, so we should decelerate here. So we need to add these three things on our car controller. Along with this, we want a way for our car to know where to go. So we're gonna have waypoints for our car, so our car will know that he needs to be here, 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 and then here. So we're gonna be adding waypoints. We're gonna be adding braking zones, like this here. And we're gonna be handling the turning script-wise. So let's get started. Okay, so back to Unity, we're gonna be creating a new empty game object that's gonna hold all our waypoints. And we're also gonna have an empty game object that's gonna hold all our breaking points. So now we're gonna create our first waypoint. Let's create a sphere. Let's put this on 0, 0, 0. Make it a bit bigger so we can see it actually. And let's also add the material. Alright. So here, we're gonna be wanting to create our waypoints for our game. So let's do this by actually Command D, and so on and so forth for all our waypoints. Okay, so after adding our waypoints, what we also want to do is create our breaking points. So to do this, we're gonna be creating a cube, a big cube. We're gonna be making it a bit bigger, like this. Also a bit like this. And we're gonna put the brake material as well. And we're also gonna putting this on the breaking points, and our waypoints onto our waypoints, so the spheres onto here, so waypoints and breaking points, like this. And basically what we want to do with our breaking points is this here. We want to show our AI controller when to brake. So let's do this as well. Okay, so after doing all this, what we want to be doing is actually handling our waypoints. So to do this, we're gonna go into our waypoint parent object and we're gonna create a new script which we're gonna call waypoint container. Opening the script, what we want it to be doing is actually getting our child objects in its place. So sphere 0 is going to be our first waypoint, sphere 1, 2, and so on, so on. So let's do this. So at start, what we're gonna be doing, or even awake, so that's earlier than anything else, we're gonna also be creating a list, so public list that's gonna be transforms, so that we know the position of the game objects and the waypoints, which we're gonna call waypoints. And after this, we're gonna create a for each loop that goes through all the child objects that contain a transform, and we're gonna add this to the list. So we're gonna go into, so it's for each transform, which we're gonna call tr, inside our game object dot get components in children. So we're gonna be wanting the transform, and we're gonna be adding this to our waypoints. So let's see how that works. So inside our waypoints here, script, we're gonna have our waypoints, and as you can see, we have everything except, but the only problem is we have our waypoints master object as well. So we want to remove that since it's considered a child of its own. So to do that, we just remove our waypoint at the place of 0, and that's gonna be all good. So let's see how this works now. We go into our waypoints, and that's all our waypoints. That's perfect. The next thing we will be doing is actually creating our AI controller. But before we do this, let's look at how our current controller works. So let's go into our player car input script. And as you can see here on the update function, we have something called, on the car controller, we have something called set input, which has a throttle input, steering input, clutch input, and handbrake input. So what we're gonna be doing is actually handling the throttle input, the steering input, the clutch we're not gonna be handling it. We're not gonna be handling it on our own, and neither are we going to be handling the handbrake. So the throttle input takes something from from -1 if we're reversing or braking to 1, and the steering input takes a variable from -90 to 90 degrees, which is basically the angle of the steering. So let's actually create our AI controller now. We disable our player car input and we create one that's called AI car controller. Okay, so what we're gonna be wanting to do first is actually handling our waypoints, having a list of our waypoints, our controller, our current waypoint as well, and we're also wanting to have a variable to know how far we need to be to go to the next waypoint. So here, this is the waypoint the car is following, but when we get a bit closer, it's gonna swap to this one. And so, for example, if our car comes this close here, we're gonna be going onto this one here. So let's add these variables here. So this is gonna be our public waypoint container, which we're gonna be calling waypoint container. We're also gonna have a list, which is gonna be our waypoints, so that we don't call it every time from the waypoint container. We're gonna have an integer, which is gonna be showing into our current waypoint index, and we're also gonna have our car controller, which we're gonna name car controller. Our float, that's gonna be the range that we want to have for our waypoint, so waypoint range, and we can start after this. So at the start, we're gonna take our car controller, so car controller equals get component car controller. We can also require it so that we can use it. So here on the top, we're gonna have require component type of car controller. Perfect. we're also gonna be getting our waypoints, which is going to be which is gonna be what's it gonna be? Oh yeah, our waypoint container dot waypoints. And finally, our current waypoint is gonna be obviously 0. If I can click it, perfect. Okay, so next thing we're gonna be doing is actually cycling through our waypoints. So to do this, we're gonna have an if statement that says if the distance is smaller than our waypoints, between our waypoint and our car is smaller than the range, then we're gonna go into the next one. So wait, what did I press? Waypoint dot position, and our transform dot position is smaller than our waypoint range. Then we're gonna increase our current waypoint ++, and we're gonna check if our waypoint is cycling through. So if we go from the last waypoint to the next one, we need to cycle to the first waypoint. So if the current waypoint is equal to our waypoints dot count, so how many waypoints we have, then our current waypoint is gonna be equal to 0. Okay, so back to our editor here, we're gonna have our current waypoint being to 0, our waypoint range is gonna be 13, and this is the list of our waypoints. We can also debug so that we can see the position of our waypoint, and to do that we can have a debug.drawArray. Wait, let me show you. Draw array in between our transform.position and between our waypoints. So waypoints dot current waypoint dot position minus our transform.position, so that we actually get the angle. And we're gonna have a color of yellow, I guess. So let's see this. I'm gonna enable the player car input so we can actually handle the car as well and see where we're going. So perfect, let's see. So our current waypoint here is 0, but we have messed up something, or we have forgotten to add the waypoint container. So we go into our waypoint container here and we add it. Perfect, let's see again. Okay, so as you can see the waypoint, let me enable this. So as you can see the waypoint line is going to our waypoint off. Yeah, I forgot to disable the colliders from the cubes. So remove collider. Oh, actually we just want this to be a trigger. Let's see about the spheres as well. We want to remove the sphere colliders though. Okay, let's see again. Okay, so once again our car is here, and we're gonna enable the player car input, and let's see when it changes to the next one. Okay, so if we're close, it changed to the next one, as you can see here. Here it's gonna change to the next one. Perfect. Okay, so what we want to do now is actually get our steering input for our AI controller. So to do this, we're gonna actually create a new temporary vector, which we're gonna call forward, which is gonna be the forward vector of our car. So transform direction vector3.forward. And then we're gonna have a float, which we're gonna call the current angle, which is gonna be the current angle of our steering. So current angle, I want this actually to be a private float. Okay, so we're gonna go into our update, and we're gonna say that our current angle is gonna be equal to the angle between our car and the waypoint. Okay, so here we're gonna actually we're gonna get the angle between these two. So we're gonna have the signed angle in between our forward vector and our waypoints container. Sorry, waypoints.current waypoint minus our transform.position, so that we can actually get the vector of our angle, and we're gonna set the angle to be taken by the vector up. So we're gonna take this here, the rotation like this, because there are other rotation as well which you can take. So vector 3.up. Perfect. Oh yeah, also I forgot here to add the position. And we can also check a bit. So let's see how this works. If we go into our car controller, .set input, and we set the throttle to 1, so we never brake, but our steering to our current angle, clutch to 0 and brake to 0. So let's see how this works. So I'm not gonna be pressing anything. The car accelerates. It starts to steer a bit. It goes left. It's not bad for now. It goes left, but as you can see, it keeps hitting on the wall. But it's not that bad. So what we want to be adding now is the braking, so that when it enters the braking zone, it actually stops and it doesn't die. And also when we turn, we want our car to not be pressing the gas pedal. Back into our car controller, sorry, our AI controller, we're gonna add 3 variables. So we're gonna be adding a variable to handle our gas input, which we're gonna be calling gas input. It's gonna be a float. We're also gonna be adding a variable to check if we're inside the braking zone. So we're gonna have a public variable, sorry, boolean is inside braking. And finally, we're also gonna have a variable for what we consider to be the maximum angle of the steering that the car should not be accelerating. So it should, the gas pedal should be 0, which we're gonna add this as a public float, which we're gonna call maximum angle. I cannot type for some reason. Which we're gonna add this for now at 45 degrees. Okay, so what we're gonna be doing now is actually setting our gas input to be equal to our maximum steering minus our current steering, so that we can interpolate between the two. And so if we're going forward, we're gonna have our maximum gas input, but if we're steering, the gas input is gonna become lower and lower until it's 0. So let's do this. First of all, we're gonna clamp this from 0 to 1, so that it doesn't go above 1, since we cannot have an input above 1. And what we're gonna be doing is setting our maximum angle minus our the absolute value of our speed of the car times our angle. So if we're going slow and we're turning left, there's no point in not pressing the gas pedal. But if we're going super fast and the car is going so if we're going super fast and we're going on turning just a tiny bit, we want the car to not accelerate at all. So we're gonna get our car controller.speed, and we're gonna decrease it by constant of 0.01 f, which I have found is good, since our maximum speed is usually at 100 kilometers per hour, sorry, 120 miles per hour. And we're also gonna add our current angle, and we're gonna go to our absolute value, and we're gonna divide it by our maximum steering angle as well. So this is gonna give us the interpolation between 0 and 1. So if we go forward, the gas input is gonna be 1, and if we turn, it's gonna be 0. Okay, so we're also gonna check that if we're inside the braking zone, we're gonna be wanting to brake, but we want to brake just until we are slow enough so that we can actually turn. So in our car controller, braking means that we have a negative gas input. So we're gonna make our gas input be negative, and then we're gonna have we're gonna clamp this to 0.1 as well, so we don't have something bigger than 0.1. And what we're gonna be doing is braking depending on our speed and what we want our maximum speed to brake be. So we're gonna make this speed, sorry, car controller.speed, we're gonna we're gonna be wanting this to be what's called divided by our maximum speed, which for now we don't have a variable, which we're gonna add now. So we're gonna have a public float maximum speed, which we're gonna have as a 120f. And we're gonna multiply this by 2 and minus 1, which basically means that if we are slow enough, our car is going to have a gas input of 1. So this here is going to be plus 2. So minus 1 plus 2 is 1. If we're fast enough, this is going to be 0, and so this is going to be minus 1, so we're going to be braking. Now the only thing we want to be adding is actually add this, so this actually turns out to minus 0. Okay, so here we have a parenthesis that we missed. And let's see if this works. No, we haven't missed the parenthesis, so it's this here. Parenthesis here, I guess. Yes. Okay. So now that we have our is inside braking zone, we want to actually enable this somehow. So what we're gonna be doing is going into our braking zones and creating a script which we're gonna be calling braking zone. So inside our braking zone script, we're gonna remove the two functions that exist. And we're gonna have a void on trigger enter, since since we have set all our braking zones to be a trigger. So on trigger enter, what we're gonna have is we're gonna check if our car is actually an AI, and if it is, we're gonna enable the is braking zone. So we're gonna have an AI controller, which we're gonna call car. And we're gonna get inside our collider, and we're gonna see if it has a component of AI controller. If it does, then we're gonna go inside our car and we're gonna enable the is inside braking zone. And we're gonna do the exact same thing when we leave the trigger. So on trigger exit, we're gonna copy paste this, with the only difference being that this is gonna be false. So let's see how okay, so our car is here. It's accelerating. Still, it hasn't broken. I have no idea. So maybe we're missing something. Let's see our car here. Is inside braking. It's supposed to be braking. Maximum speed, etc. So let's actually debug our gas input here. Oh, sorry. Actually, yep. I have forgotten to change our gas input to be equal to our car controller input to be equal to our gas input. So let's see it now. Okay, so it's starting. It's braking a bit here. It's braking a bit too much, I think. Maybe we should make this a bit smaller. So it's still kind of hitting the wall. It's braking here a bit less or not. Okay. So what I think we should be doing here is changing our maximum speed to be a bit higher, so 140, and making these here a bit smaller. So like this and like this. Also, you're gonna notice that our car, when it's braking, it's blinking. It keeps blinking. So to fix this, we're gonna dampen. Okay, so this the problem here is this one here. So this is the problem here. The waypoint here. So to fix this, what we're gonna be doing is actually dampening our gas input. So to do this, we just create a new float, which we're gonna call gas dampen, and it's gonna be equal to our gas input, but with a lerp function. So mathf.lerp. So it's gonna be our gas dampen and our gas input. and we're gonna have a time, delta time, and we're gonna increase this by 3. So let's see if this is a bit better. So I think here there's gonna be a problem with the waypoints. Maybe this should be like this. Okay, let's see. Okay, so it's starting. As you can see, it's still not breaking normally. Okay, it's a bit better here. It broke normally here. It's going to the left, which is nice. This should also be a bit smaller. And so now it goes forward. Let's see how this goes here. So we're jumping. It's braking, it's turning. That's nice. That's a nice turn. So it's still it's braking here. It's turning a bit left, so maybe a bit bigger braking point there. So it goes forward normally. It hit the comp, the thingy. So it's braking. It's turning pretty nicely here. Although it did hit the barrier, and so there it lost it. Okay, so I forgot here to change this to dampen, and let's change a bit the waypoint so it's actually correct. So let's see, we go into our waypoints, and here I think this should be a bit closer to this. They should be a bit here, and I think we should make the car, the waypoint range about 11. Also, let's make this a tiny bit bigger, or maybe closer to the barrier, this as well. And let's see how this goes now. Okay, so it's braking normally here. Yep. It's turning left. Not greatly, but it's not that bad. Ah, no, it's awful. Okay, so let's see it now. So it's this is our car, our dampen. So as you can see, the steering here doesn't work from what I can see. I think it hasn't stopped the steering, sorry, the gas input. Yep, so let's go back to our current angle, sorry, to our gas input. Okay, so the problem here was that we had maximum angle at start, whereas here we wanted to have 1F. So we want this to be clamped to 1, not maximum angle. So also I decreased this to 0.1 as it was at start, and let's see how it goes now. Okay, so this works for now. This turns left, it hasn't hit the barrier, so that's good. Still going left, perfect. Ah, it hit the barrier a bit here, but the gas input is not that big here. So that means it's going well. We probably need to change a bit of waypoints, but let's see how it goes after this. So here, it's braking, it's turning right, nice. It's gonna brake here, it's gonna turn right, barely hit the curve, sorry. This turned right as well, and let's see the final turns. Okay. So we probably need to increase the constant, but other than that, it's not that bad. So here, we probably need to make this as a +2, or actually we can make this a constant. So let's make this public float turning constant, which we're gonna have as 0.02f, and we can also make this a slider. So in between 0.01f to 0.034f, maybe? Sure. And let's see how this works now. Let's see the waypoints here. Okay, so this explains why. Let's delete this, we don't need it. Let's make this a bit closer to the apex. And let's do the same as well for here. Perfect. Okay, so what we can also do here to make this a bit more fun is go into our car and actually duplicate it. So we're gonna have a second car. We're gonna have this car. This car, we're gonna control it with our player controller, and the other one's gonna be our AI controller. And we can also change the color a bit. So we're gonna go into our materials. Wait, let me find our body color. Make this pink, sure, or maybe red. I like gold. Okay, so let's see how this goes. So here we are. This is the AI on the left. It's going forward. It's turning. It's going a bit. Ah, fuck, I hit it. It's going on the left. It's going right. It hit a bit of a wall there on the end. So we need to work a bit on the waypoints. So I'm a bit faster, barely. Ah. And I fell, but you can see the AI didn't mess this up, so that's good. So it's going pretty well for now, and I'm a really bad driver. Okay. So as you can see, the AI works pretty decently here. Ah, it clipped off the edge there. Oh well, close enough. So yeah, I'm gonna change a bit the waypoints, and yeah, you just need to play a bit with the breaking points, the waypoints, to make it a bit cleaner, also with the values. And other than that, that's pretty much it. We have created an AI that basically runs on its own. So thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe or like the video. So take care.